Continued COVID lockdowns, job losses, inner city violence. All these things are taking a big toll on the country, especially for Black Americans. So are Joe Biden's proposals going to make life better for African Americans? We're here to set us straight is Autrey Pruitt. Mr. Pruitt is CEO of New Journey PAC. It's the largest political action committee dedicated to the realignment of Black American voters. I know you can't speak for all Black conservatives, but the people you talk to, what are they saying to you about Biden's initiative so far?
Well, the people I talk to, which, by the way, includes those from the left side of the aisle who happen to also be African Americans, Biden's first term in office so far has been a disaster because the first thing he does is issue edicts. That's what these are, edicts to kill jobs. He's either issuing edicts to kill jobs or to push back against religious rights. Those are the two things that he's done.
Well, I know Antifa and BLM rioters caused a lot of destruction in some larger urban neighborhoods over the summer, more recently in Portland on Biden's inauguration day. So that certainly has hurt Black families and business people more than others. Also, these continued COVID lockdowns, eventual changes in immigration policies. Now, that may likely lead to fewer jobs for Black Americans, especially young people. So, Autrey, what needs to be done to help them help them? I mean, should we raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour?
No, not only has he done things to kill jobs, and he's doing things so that people can't eat. His edicts and his orders to tamp down on any enforcement against BLM and Antifa is actually harming the Black community. If you look back, one of the commercials we ran during the political season was a mother crying. She was crying, saying, I can't go get my kids anything to eat because Antifa and BLM were allowed to tear up the neighborhood. And stores don't want to go back there, right? So now you want to have him come along and say, not only are we going to allow them to tear up your neighborhood, but if you get a store back there, we're going to make the minimum wage so high that a store will only be able to employ one or two people. And guess what? The one or two people that they employ will not come from the neighborhood. They won't come from that neighborhood. They're going to come from outside their neighborhood. They'll drive it every day. They'll go to work, and then they'll go back to the other side of the tracks.
Now, I know about 12% of Black American voters cast ballots for Donald Trump. Many liberal Democrats probably think those voters are delusional. So why did Trump receive such a large percentage of Black support compared to Republicans in previous elections?
Because the Republican Party has an issue. The Republican Party refuses to actually engage. And by engage, I'm not talking about a slick ad. I'm not talking about slick direct mail campaigns. I'm talking about putting people on the ground, speaking plain language every single day. Trump was able to do that because despite his celebrity status, because of his stature with The Apprentice and other Hollywood initiatives that he had taken on privately, he began to develop a little bit of relationship. So someone watching him through the TV felt like, oh, I knew this. One of the things many people don't know that I believe Trump is the celebrity outside of other hip hop celebrities with the most name mentions inside of urban hip hop songs, right? So he had a little bit of a start. He had his foot in the door. That's what it takes. It takes being on the ground and develop a relationship, not a relationship which revolves around politics or BLM or Blue Lives Matter or anything else, but just having a relationship. So what Republicans need to do is they need to get there. They need to be engaged. They need to be on the ground, not to talk politics, but just to help their fellow man.
And I know that John James was a good example in Michigan as someone who was in the community, a successful business person that people looked up to, and he was working the neighborhoods despite his election. I mean, even before he ran, people knew him, and he barely lost that election. So what else must Republicans do?
Politics is local. Anyone that's been in the political game for 5 years or longer can tell you politics are local. People look at AOC and say, how can she keep winning? How does she win that? She's this. She says stupid stuff. But guess what? She's there for her people. John James, although he lost, he barely lost. And guess what? We need to not give up the fight. That's the difference. Democrats and the progressive left come in, and even when they lose by large margins, look at Texas, they stay there. They put more money there. They put more energy there. Think about it like this. Coca-Cola will never say, you know what, Pepsi beats us out in Lexington, Kentucky, so we're never going to advertise there. If anything, they say, no, let's keep our presence there, and it may take a decade, but eventually we'll capture the market share. Republicans need to think the same way. It doesn't matter. You barely lost, or even if you lost by a margin, don't give up. Don't give up on Illinois. Don't give up on California. Don't give up on New York City. Just put some cracks there, and eventually it will shatter, and you can break through.
Thinking long term. Okay, Autrey Pruitt, CEO of New Journey PAC. Thank you for setting us straight today, Autrey.
Thank you so much for having me.